Early Quranic manuscripts tell us a lot about the creation of the Quran, but I don't think our Muslim friends are going to like what critical historical analysis will reveal. Since we are talking about this book, Creating the Quran, by Stephen Shoemaker, and since he alludes to some of the Quranic manuscripts, we thought it will be appropriate for our audience to cover these early manuscripts one show at a time to give you more in-depth backgrounds about them. And to do that, I'm going to turn now our attention to Dr. J. Dr. J, welcome back.
Yeah, and it's good to be back, and it's good to finally get to the manuscripts, because really, if you want, probably the strongest argument for a later Quran is with the manuscripts, because the manuscripts just don't exist prior to Abd al-Malik and al-Hajjaj. Case in point. That's the first thing you need to say. And Shoemaker agrees with that, and Shoemaker does say that. He talks about, and this, let me just quote what he says. There is not a single Quranic manuscript, Yemeni or otherwise, that has been dated to the 7th century on anything other than paleographical grounds, which, given the paltry evidence that survives, remain controversial in the extreme. One scholar's 7th century leaf, another may assign to the 8th or 9th century. And even if this manuscript truly is from the end of the 7th century, its witness remains a far cry from establishing the traditional account of Quranic origins, or, for that matter, its collection and editing. So he's very clear that even those that possibly can be attributed to the 7th century, like with radiocarbon dating, he's going to shut down radiocarbon dating. We're going to get to that. Wait to see what he has to say about that. He's probably done the best job I've ever seen of working with the radiocarbon dating and seeing what the scholars are really saying about that dating. But that's for later. We're going to get to that in the future episodes. François Doroche is the man who you need to go to for manuscript evidence. He is the world authority on the manuscript evidence. He is the one that has cataloged the dates for the different manuscripts, and everybody goes to him just because he's way ahead of the game, and because of the fact that this has been his forte. He's from France. He's there in Paris. He is at the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris there in Paris, and so he was the one that really controls this manuscript that I have here. I'm going to put it to when I get to it. That's the Petropolitanus, which is
the BNF.
BNF.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So he says this: when looking at the transcription of the Codex Parisino Petropolitanus, this one here, we're going to get to it, one sees that this copy, as well as those which belong to these chronological strata of the transmission, are unable to prevent what the Uthmanic condition was supposed to achieve. That is, no variation in the Quranic text. There's all kinds of variations, and that's why he's saying this is not going to support what the Muslims have been saying, and certainly is not going to support what those from the Noldeki-Shwali camp have been saying, that Uthman codified it and there's not been any change since that period from the 652. No, the manuscripts are going to shut that down real quick. That's why we need to get to the manuscripts. So what manuscripts are we talking about? Let's go to the slides and let's start with the first one, the first two that you see here. So on the left here, you see the Topkapi. The Topkapi is probably the most famous. That's it. This is it right here. So I've got it right here. This is the Topkapi, folks.
Right.
You're looking at it, okay?
Yeah.
You can't get this anymore. This costs an awful lot of money. It cost me over 400 pounds when I bought it. It's now out of print. This has cost thousands.
And basically what people see is a facsimile copy of the actual manuscript, and it's transcribed down at the bottom.
And why is it transcribed at the bottom?
Well, because you cannot read it really unless you know how to read manuscripts.
There are no dots. There are no vowels. Now, I lie. There are a few dots. And you'll see there's a dot here, there's a dot here, there's a few dots in each page. But they're in a different color, which suggests they were put in at a later date.
And many scholars will tell you this, yes, that sometimes they will come back and add it just to help with the reading.
You'll see medallion. There's a medallion here, and you can see sometimes the medallion are switched in at a later date. There's no any room for them. Those are versification. So they've tried to versify this one, but you can see over it. Sometimes it's even hard to read because they've not really kept care of this. This is the one that's in the Topkapi. In the Topkapi Museum, we'll get to that. We'll come to that in time. So that is the Al-Musaf al-Sharif, known as the Topkapi. The other one over here is the Samarkand. We're going to get into this. We're going to unpack it. We're going to show you some of the problems with it, and we're going to actually quote from Al-Takulich and Ekmelan and Sanad, the two scholars who have worked at all of these 6 manuscripts. These are the 6 major ones. So those are the first 2. We have also this is the one that I know the best because it's right there in London. You can go down to the Red Black Gallery there in the British Library, And you can actually see this. Usually it's there for you to see, but obviously sometimes it's so famous that it's been sent all over the world. And we're going to unpack that, look at it. That's there in London, England. And this is the one that Deroche controls. He doesn't own it, obviously, but he is the one that has done the most work on it, known as the Petropolitanus, there in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, in France. So that's number 3 and 4. Number 5 and number 6 would be the Al-Huzayni manuscript, which is in Cairo. You can see it's a monumental text. It is enormous.
And the bigger it is, the later it is.
That's usually the case, because these are modeled after the Christian manuscripts, which became monumental in the same way. And then the most famous, probably the best one, the most exciting, is the Sana'a manuscript in Sana'a in Yemen. We're going to be looking at every one of these, so I don't want to really take on it. But let's see what the scholars say. So when we go to these two men, this is the first one here. His name is Dr. Ekmeluddin Ihsanoglu. He's there in Turkey. He's founding director general of IRSISA from 1980 to 2004, secretary general of the organization of the Islamic Conference of Research Center. He's more of a political figure more than a scholar. The scholar is this man here. His name is Dr. Tahir Altukulic. He is the one that actually did the work. This is his book from 2002 to 2007. He spent 5 years along with Ihsanoglu, and they looked at these 6 manuscripts. They were the first to do so face-to-face, hands-on. They were the ones that had the access to them. He's a leading scholar in the Quranic studies, ex-president of the Turkish Religious Affairs, deputy in the Turkish parliament. These guys are in politics and in theology. Now, this is what he says. He says, according to Ihsanoglu, we have none of Uthman's mushafs. That's the first thing you need to know.
Meaning those are not the copies of Uthman.
None of these 6 are from Uthman. Nor do we have any copies from those mushafs. So these are not even copies of copies. These mushafs date from the later Umayyad period. That means the 8th century, because the Umayyad period goes from 661 to 749.
And that's the time of Abdul Malik, at least.
Abdul Malik and Al-Hajjaj. You're
right.
going to see all of these date from that after, except for one.
Which makes sense. If it started at that time, we're finding manuscripts from that time.
That's right. Dr. Altukulic says, no serious scholarly work has been done on them until we did. We're the first ones to do any serious scholarly work on it. These mushafs date from the early to mid 8th century, he says. They are not Uthmanic, nor copies sent by him. We're going to start with the top copy, and that's the one we're going to go with next. So let's close this one out, and then we're going to start and go back to the top copy, which is coming up.
And that's basically what we're going to do, as I promised. This is an overview, and we're going to take them one manuscript at a time. And that's extremely important, by the way, because these manuscripts have a lot of answers concerning what we call Abdul Malik al-Hajjaj paradigm, or the later development of the Quran. Thank you, Dr. J. Thank you, everyone. This is Al-Fadi. God bless. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, CIRA International, and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.